I want to stress Thor is not stabbing the lesbians.
No, yeah.
That was brought to my idea. He's like, ah! Like, yeah!
Go lesbians!
Yeah. Thor is very pro-lesbian. Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching the Show, your twice-weekly pop culture podcast, where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. On today's episode, we are going to revisit a movie that is near and dear to my heart. However, I have not seen it in years. Mm-hmm. And I'm a little nervous about revisiting it.
Simulated sexual lifestyle. What about foreplay?
No, foreplay is for sissies.
Mom!
But I'm a Cheerleader. Director's Cut. Look for it on 4K.
Movies, but I'm a Cheerleader.
Yay.
I think it's the first gay movie I saw. Like, explicitly gay movie. I was that kid. I was the gay kid. And I had a friend, Tara. Hi, Tara, if you're watching. Love and miss you. She was so great. Yeah. She was so nice and she was so pretty and she just sort of understood that I needed help. And so she just she was more daring and she was more like, her family was a little bit more worldly. And so she would just kind of be like, we're going to watch this. Like, she's the one who showed me Rocky Horror Picture Show. She was like, oh my God, you have to see it. It's amazing. I had a similar response to you. Yeah. Where I was like, I don't care for any of this.
Like, this is it?
I grew into it. Yeah. You become accustomed to it. But this was one of the first movies. And I remember loving it. And then, years had passed and I just somehow never really went back and revisited it. And going back for this, I happened to Google it and it's got like a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. Ugh. And the reception was really lukewarm. And I kind of get it. I can imagine being a movie critic in 1999 and seeing this movie and being like, it's a little broad, it's a little hacky, like it's a little...
Well, but I think that's part of what makes it so cutting.
And so do you think that was intentional?
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely do.
I think it's aged well.
Yeah.
And by that, it shows its age. Like, I think you should watch it with the context of knowing it came out in 1999. But I think the camp factor and the irony and the satire really... it marinates over time in a way that I could see if this was opening night being a little kind of like, this is weird.
Well, it's also such an indie movie. And so it's you can tell that they didn't have a ton of money, but what they had, I think they utilized it correctly. Mm-hmm. I think that it's as close as Jamie Babbitt could have gotten to the movie that she wanted to make
with
the resources she had.
And to be honest, she had resources. Yeah. I mean, it's not an expensive movie by any stretch. However, they used what money they had. Yeah. And it has a little bit of an embarrassment of riches in its cast.
Oh my God. A
lot of people before they hit.
Yeah.
And then a couple of people sort of
mid
in free fall. Not really free fall, but limbo.
Yeah.
And to watch it now in 2020, there's 15 people of note sprinkled throughout this movie to varying degrees.
Definitely.
But to cut to the chase, I just kind of loved it, rewatching it. I don't know if that's nostalgia.
No, it's definitely not nostalgia for me because, like I said, I think I'd only ever seen it once, and I think it was college that I watched it. And I was like, that was good. But watching it again now, I was like, oh no, this is really good.
Well, it's also... like I mentioned, you do have to watch it in context because it is a little bit groundbreaking. There were not a lot of gay movies, period. Yeah. There were not a lot of gay movies that were mainstream accessible or accessibly mainstream. There were not a lot of lesbian movies. Yeah.
When did the L Word start?
2002, maybe 3?
2004. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this was 5 years before that.
And I think that that's sort of fascinating when something is the first to go.
Yeah.
It has a lot that it has to do.
Yeah.
Like, because it has to sort of, it has to prove itself like 3 ways over, you know, to different audiences and stuff. And so it also was kind of poorly received initially from the community.
Oh.
Because it was making light of such serious subject matter.
I feel like that is like step 2 in being accepted by the world at large. Like being able to poke fun at these horrible things.
It's also like a gay special.
Yeah.
Like to take something because we're threatened so much, so soon, so quickly that we have to sort of find ways to take the piss out of it.
Yeah.
And we do it in spades. I mean, I was like the Babadook.
Yeah.
I mean, even just we were talking about RuPaul in Tu Wong Fu as the character Rachel Tensions.
So funny.
Wearing a Confederate flag. I mean, Sarah Palin, when she came out, drag queens were doing it. I was like the queer-coded Disney villains, you know.
For clarity, Sarah Palin did not come out of the closet, but when she came onto the world stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she was really camp in this way that like it just, we take something negative and find a way to make it ours, fun, and to make fun of it. It's very Little Nas X dancing with the devil, you know?
I just also think that that's, I mean, the whole vibe of this movie is also just very like, Natasha Lyonne's character is just confused most of the time. She's just like, that literally, but I'm a cheerleader. How can this be?
But it's like, is that not a really interesting take where it's being done to her, which I could relate to because I wasn't trying to be gay.
Right.
I was never trying to stir the pot. I was actively doing everything in my power to not be, and to have this thing being continually used against me and then blamed on me, like I had somehow disrupted the peace.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that this is everyone around her that they decide this for her and then try to punish her for it.
Yeah.
Because she's oblivious.
She just is like, maybe my boyfriend doesn't kiss me right, which he does not. That being said.
We're not going to get into the... I was going to say that he does not kiss her right. There's someone for that. But
sure, there's someone for that, but it's like... It's also not
it's
me.
It's Billy Lord and Booksmart.
Sure. I'll allow that.
But no, for like 3/4 of the movie, Megan, Natasha Lyonne, is actively trying to get better.
Yeah. Better.
Like trying to play the game. Like
it's like if you've, you know, been incorrectly, you know, in old-timey movies, you're incorrectly put into like a mental institution and you just have to be like, no, I don't hear the voices anymore until they let you out. I think that's kind of what she's trying to do. And that's absolutely what Clea Duvall is trying to do, to just like get through it and then go home and like continue living her life.
But it's like, it also just like the ineptitude of the camp.
Yes.
Like
100%. Where she's like, Mary, her name's Mary, right? She's just like orgasmically vacuuming and trying to get the girls to like vacuum with her.
Well, and all the like, because there's like obviously the girls section of the camp and the boys section of the camp. And we know because they are color coded.
Pink and blue.
And all the like wood cutouts of like soldiers in like suggestive tableaus.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can tell they weren't meant to be, but it's just like, I do have a hard time seeing how so many people could sort of miss. But again, you have to think of the context because it's like, if you were of age in this time and you're aware that these horrible camps are real and that it's addressed in a relatively mainstream way like this.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we don't get Boy Erased for 20 years.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I feel like that is probably... If you say that the community also didn't really like it, I can imagine that they were like, there were a lot of people that were like, this is real. And it's like not as, that's what I said yesterday. I was like, this is like a really kooky representation. It's like very whimsical.
It's very John Waters.
Yeah.
Up to and including the presence of Meek Stoll.
Yeah.
It's so funny in this movie. I know. It's just the whole thing. It is so campy and it is so like gay subtext 101 because she's like the overbearing mother.
Yeah.
And because I love the scene at the end with the P flag and the father's like totally, you can tell he's not 100% around, but he's
to
down
embrace
for it.
Yeah.
And she's just like humiliated.
And she's wearing like a scarf and sunglasses in the audience.
I can see how that could be a response. And that's one of the things that I'm loving so much about doing this show is because as much as this is for you guys, like this is for us.
Yeah.
And
being able to revisit stuff like this.
Well, and just study.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've said this a couple times on the show, but it was like, it's so interesting to see something, to witness something come out when in its time, watch time pass, and then revisit something.
Yeah.
Because things change. And it's like, we have a tendency to view things in real time with sort of this like onus of like justify your existence.
No.
It's like when we walk into a movie. No, yes. I mean, I think even we do it. Like,
well, certain things for sure, but I just feel like something like this without even, I think its existence is justified just because it's saying something.
Well, sure, but there was a lot of appraisal as to how successfully it said that. And I think in the moment, we have a tendency to look at art as something, like I said, something ephemeral, like something temporary, or something that, like I said, that we are the important part, and it is to appease us.
Sure.
Where once something
like a god king,
once something exists and has existed for a while, it just becomes part of the fabric.
Right.
So when we go back and look at it, we're not as demanding of it because there's a flip where it gains the power because it's history, and history becomes sacred at a certain point.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And I find it very interesting how that changes the way things are viewed and the way things are appreciated.
And the interpretation of certain things, because there are certain movies that I think just maintain through time. They don't really change. They're constant. And then there are things like this where it's like, 1999 was a nebulous time for lots of things, gay people, lesbians, this kind of like the visual style of this movie. And for that to come around to that, 22 years later, it's actually remarkable how well it does hold up in my opinion.
And you just sort of get to a place where you're like, but I'm a cheerleader through the first brick at Stonewall. You know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, something just is the first thing, and it's not. I know that things came before it, but again, through my context, through my eyes and stuff, I find it interesting how, like I said, I mean, it is, for a queer millennial, this is sacred text.
Yeah,
for me,
100%.
And
I mean, especially with the inclusion of Clea Duvall, who is like the lesbian of our generation.
So Clea Duvall, Natasha Lyonne, wildly cast here. We watched an interview with like the cast, a retrospective interview, and the director, she was like, when Clea suggested Natasha, I was like, no, that's not. And I think it's a testament, and it's a very Natasha Lyonne take on this character.
But I think it's perfect. I think it's like pitch perfect the way that she interprets Megan.
Because I think a more obvious instinct or impulse would be to go with like Michelle Williams, who would do it way more bright-eyed.
Sure.
I guess, not to imply Natasha Lyonne is not bright-eyed, but I think that there's, to say there a worldliness, I think that there's a darkness in Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah, well, there also is, I mean, she does have the use, like, she's oblivious, but she is also, she feels in her performance slightly disillusioned with what's happening with her boyfriend, with her friends, and she doesn't understand that what she's doing is wrong. Like,
well, because she's doing everything right, though. She's a cheerleader.
Yeah, she's a cheerleader. She's doing nothing but wearing full skirt A-line dresses. Her hair is
because you have
perfect.
no idea what the time period is.
Like, it's very strange.
No clue.
Yeah, like it feels like the 90s, but then it also feels like the 50s. Yeah,
and another thing I
very
love,
Riverdale in that way.
Another thing I love is that her femininity never becomes the villain.
Right,
like the cheerleader. She wins this movie as a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And they resist the urge to turn the cheerleader into a mockery, other than, I mean,
how much cheerleader
the mockery that seeps in through the entire movie.
No, but you're right. I mean, they resisted the urge, and maybe it was not even an urge, but they like don't make her butch to match.
Well, and
Graham.
I don't even quite mean that, but it's like it's not a prison for her to escape her femininity.
Sure, she likes it.
Yeah.
Those parts of it, she's like all for.
And that's where I think that this was a little bit ahead of its time in ways that people didn't notice. And it's the thing with Andre. I mean, he is so stereotypically borderline, and frankly, for some people, outright offensively a sissy.
Yeah.
But you do reach a point where you're like, but I mean, that's a fair commentary. It reminds me of this thing where Glenn Weldon told a story about how in like 2000 when Will and Grace was new, or Queer Eye, it was Queer Eye, and he was at a party and there was two gay people, a gay couple there that were like really sort of like deriding it.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's just so offensive and it just trades in stereotypes and stuff. And so Glenn changed the conversation and he was like, so what do you do as a profession? And they were both professional figure skating judges.
Yeah.
And he was like, so pick a lane.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, where it's just sort of like, I just feel like you said Queer Eye, so you said Carson, but also then Jack on Will and Grace. It's like, that's a legitimate way to be gay. And I'm just like, you have to let
Kurt
them
on
all,
Glee. It's like, I mean, there's a dime a dozen. Like,
you have to let them all exist. And like, I understand that it sort of is like a minstrelly kind of thing when it starts, because that's what people will accept.
But this entire production is.
Yeah.
Everyone is. And
yeah.
so, and we do get variation, even shockingly, some like ethnic variation and stuff. Like, it's not just all white kids. And like, we have, we have Melanie Linsky, who's white, but
yeah, but she's so good.
I wonder how she wound up in this, because she was like off of two bigger projects.
Well, that's how Jamie Babbitt found her, was like, I saw Heavenly Creatures, where she is lesbians with
is she?
Kate Winslet a
Okay.
little. It's like dicey and scary and weird. And then she saw Ever After and she was like, I gotta get that one. I gotta get that girl in this movie. Sinead is Catherine Town, who, if anybody watches Buffy, she plays the vampire that tries to kill Buffy in the season 4 premiere when she's at college. Tries to make everybody think she like ran away. She steals all her stuff.
Well, okay, but also, what's the thing with Jan, the like more butch one?
Yeah.
There's a scene where she's like, I'm not gay.
Yeah.
I'm just butch.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
Like, I just like to play softball.
That is so funny in a way that it's like.
Because doesn't she say so? She's like, I just want a meaty dick. She just is like.
And I mean, we have RuPaul
Yes.
Charles and Eddie Cibrian.
Okay. I've never been like a huge Eddie Cibrian fan. I recognize that he's hot, but like, he doesn't do a lot of projects that interest me, like that.
Ugly Betty, and that's
sure, yeah. He's been in a handful of things, and I'm like, you remain hot. But watching him in this movie, I'm like, how did you not hit for comedy? He plays this so well, and like, honestly, the cutoff jeans, it's so funny. Everything about his character.
What, him dancing to that like tacky RuPaul song? Where
He's like twirling the weed whacker around while he's doing it. It's very funny.
I mentioned the sets and stuff, but I wanted to really hit it home. I do love how insane they are.
Yeah.
That it's like a Tim Burton or John Waters.
I mean, it straight up, it 100% feels like a production of Edward Scissorhands that had less money. It's exactly
like a really
like
good
it.
community theater, like a
Edward
really
Scissorhands,
solid
yeah.
community theater production.
Totally. Well, the color coded stuff, the way that the suburbia looks.
You get the sense that if they had $50, they spent 49 of them on the production,
set design. Yeah, for sure.
And just sort of and it's all blocky, like very bold. Everything's pink. Everything's blue. I always found the green weird.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say. I was curious if it has any
like a meaning.
Yeah. Because there are several scenes that take place in full green.
It's mostly Mary's room is like green, and then she's got that like magenta bedspread.
And then there's the purple, which I love that because they have Natasha Lyonne is in like the corset.
Yeah.
And it's so like frilly, but
to me also, it's so funny how out of place Clea Duvall looks in all of the girly clothes. It's such a visual gag, especially for me now, knowing her for, mostly her entire career. And she always is playing that Clea Duvall character. So I love, it just is such a fish out of water thing. She just is like it doesn't compute. It looks wrong.
I also remember, like I said, watching this at 15 and being so in love with Kip Purdue.
Yeah.
And him and Dolph. Rufio.
Rufio from Hook. Love him.
I thought they were so cute.
Yeah.
I was so mad at her
Yeah.
for telling on them in a way that I appreciate more now.
Sure, of course.
I understand more now.
She is literally just trying to get through and get out.
Well, she's also drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit at that point.
Yeah.
Like, which I think is fair. I mean, I think that's part of the trauma of all of this.
Yeah.
And then I love the Larrys that have do they own the bar or do they just like
I think they just like
the cocksucker?
Oh my God. I think they just like go to the bar and they'll like take the kids.
And their little halfway house was
very cute.
So offensive.
Well, but it was like 100%, but it was cute that they were doing it,
Yes,
was my point. But yes, the like I mean, like even Dolph's pajamas were rainbow. That was like a lot. It was a lot of stuff. We say as we both are wearing rainbows.
Well, we're not like wall to wall.
Yeah,
like,
it's not 100%.
Not like Target in here.
That shirt with the ice cream cones, the rainbow ice cream cones was cute, and I don't want to hear another word about it.
And then Julie Delpy.
Oh yeah, hot Julie Delpy
as the seductress.
French seductress at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
She is
I love
babe.
that this is just an actual like genre. Like it's not always like a conversion camp, but going to like a weird anti-sex camp and then escaping to the bar down the road.
Because yes,
then,
God, yes.
Yeah. And also kind of boy erased.
Kind
and, like,
of boy
all
erased,
that.
yeah.
Like I assume anyone listening to this has already seen the movie. So in that regard, it's like and it's a pretty predictable plot. Although I never remember that Graham like sells them out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I also want to know more about Mary and Eddie Cibrian. About their relationship? Because
I mean, he's her son.
Yeah. How many times has this happened? Because presumably this is like seasonal.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it this weird thing with RuPaul that just is ongoing? Or every single time does he find some way to like get in with she's always trying to like pawn him off. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's very funny.
Well, because she makes him do one of the like what were they calling? I don't remember what they were calling it. Like the like simulated sex with Clea Duvall. It's so awkward.
So bad. All the girls, because they have the Adam and Eve leaves.
Yeah.
And all of the girls have a flower.
Ugh.
On their crotch.
Real bad.
And they just like make her spread her legs and she couldn't be less enthusiastic.
Yeah.
She's just like
yeah. still flat on the bed. She just like
well, she spreads her feet.
Yeah.
Like and then he like climbs on top of her and just starts doing push-ups. And you and Rachel were like, yeah, it's all in the chest.
That's where the good sex is, all in the chest.
And Kathy Moriarty has a couple of line deliveries because she's like, oof. She's like, get in there and pump and dump like a man.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh.
What did she say? 4 plays for sissies or something?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, oh God, it's really bad.
No, I'm glad that we did this. I'm glad that I actually got a chance to revisit it because I think, and as I mentioned, or we like led in the beginning, I think especially within context, within the hierarchy of like queer cinema, I think that this is a really significant. Let's do Debs.
Okay.
I love Debs.
We can do Debs.
We have to do Shelter. We got a request.
We did get a request. If anybody else has gay movies, we're not just doing this for pride. We'll watch gay movies if you want to recommend any or suggest any.
I loved Debs. That one was fun. It's Jessica Caulfield.
And
it's Jordana Brewster,
yeah.
and a couple other people.
Yeah.
But Jessica Caulfield is like the Russian.
Oh, yeah.
And she's
Isn't it Devin Aoki?
She's in it, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And Megan Good.
Yeah.
There's
it's a good movie. That's a good movie.
I wonder what that says about me and my development, that I am far more versed in lesbian
No, it makes sense. No, it's like, well, it super makes sense that that's what you gravitated towards because you've always liked ladies and your family is very matriarchal. So it
I've
totally
seen
checks.
plenty of gay.
No, of course.
Like plenty of gay subject
but there's
matter,
like, there's something I think almost very consistently more stylish about lesbian movies than there is about a lot of gay movies.
It was also easier, especially when I was younger, to get away with.
Sure.
like
'Cause
socially.
you were looking at the girls again.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I also like lesbians.
Yeah.
So
Lesbians are great.
So, okay. I think that was a fun little conversation.
Yeah. I straight up do not know where this is streaming, if it is streaming anywhere, but we got the DVD with the director's cut.
It was like just released on Blu-ray with the director's cut, and
There wasn't that much new. A little bit, but
no.
it's not like deleted scenes that make you be like, yeah, that should have been deleted. It felt still very continuous.
Coherent. It has a commentary that I did not have the opportunity to listen to. I planned on it, but you know how that goes. So
okay. It looks like you can stream it all kinds of places. You can rent it on Amazon or Google Play or Apple. Yeah. So it's rentable many places if you want to watch, but I'm a cheerleader. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at So I'm Watching or Instagram at So I'm Watching the show. We also have a website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything, including our Patreon, where you could throw us a couple bucks. We are getting ready to do some revamping with that, which I know I've been saying for months now, but we actually have decided on some stuff now. So you can go over there and join for as little as $1, and that would just really help us out, and you can get access to the backlogs. We're going to put some new stuff up there. So yeah, do that. And then don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube.
yeah, we're supposed to be doing that part.
Yeah.
Let's get 10 likes.
Can we do it? Let's do it.
Let's get 10 likes.
Woo! Okay, bye.